Welcome to episode 42. Today we'll be talking about Bob Chapek becoming Disney CEO, Star Wars The High Republic, Loki and the Time Variance Authority, our favorite things to do at Disneyland, and more. Hi everybody, I'm Loren, and I'm here with my cousin and co-pilot, Rich.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. Anything interesting going on in your world?
Tomorrow I'll be at Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge, Batu West, as it's now called.
Nice.
Not officially, but like to people. Because there's going to be a lightsaber meetup. So, there's
That's
a whole bunch of
awesome.
people that get together. They do like the pose in front of the Millennium Falcon. I do it in a cool way. Like they actually kind of go in and sort you by color, so it's almost like a rainbow effect.
Hmm. That's
Um,
really cool.
yeah, and last time I did it, Chewbacca showed up and interacted with everybody. And then I don't know if you saw it, but there was like a video that went a little viral where Rey was
Yes.
there, and all the people had their lightsabers, above her.
That's like
That
one of the most magical photos I've seen.
Yeah, that was from the last one. So we'll see. Uh,
Yeah, hopefully she'll do it again. That would be really cool. Get pictures and stuff like that.
yeah, I think every time it happens, it grows because I think more people know it's going on. So we'll see what the crowd is like tomorrow night. Should be
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm gonna bring my Galaxy's Edge one. So this time the thing that's different this time is that they're gonna pose in front of the Falcon with everybody, light side and dark side. Then all the people who want to pose for the dark side picture will go to the TIE fighter. And then for the light side, they go to the X-wing.
Nice.
So I'm gonna bring uh, my yellow crystal for the Millennium Falcon, green crystal for the light side, and then I have to buy a red crystal for um for the Sith side.
I'm
I
surprised you
thought
don't have a red crystal already.
I wanted to get one when I get a Sith holocron, but I don't have
Yeah.
a Sith holocron yet, so I was just waiting.
What will you
Um,
do if you get the black crystal?
well, that's another thing. Like when I do it, I'm gonna like. There's another uh, what's it called? YouTube vloggers that I follow
Uh
called
huh.
Ordinary Adventures, and they're for like 6 months they were doing the Black Kyber Crystal Challenge,
Right.
and where they would buy a red crystal every single time they went. They went through 21 crystals
Oh my
before they
god.
got a black crystal.
That's
Um,
crazy.
so I do want to get a black crystal, so I'm gonna start tomorrow with that challenge. I doubt I'm gonna do one every single time I go because I go a lot, and
Right.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna start and like try to get a black crystal at some point, and I'll probably put up some video for it.
Does it like your lightsaber black?
No, it's still red.
It's still
Um,
red. Oh, okay.
it's still red. You get a cool like little in the crystal container. There's like a little piece of paper that tells you you found something special. Blah 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 blah. And
Mm.
then the Sith that's associated is Snoke.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
Well, that's
but
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. My life has been boring. I have no lightsaber meetup to go to. Unless I want to go to the middle of a park and be the
To do
only one there.
Yeah. They also
I
do droid meetups. Some one of these days I'm gonna get the chance to build my droid, and then I'll probably show up at those too.
How
But
fun.
but a lot of people do like they make the custom droid, but then they take them home and then they really customize it.
Oh,
Like
really?
there's this one dude who like customizes a lot. Like he showed up like I think a couple of days ago, and he
Yeah.
decorated his in like a haunted mansion theme. I've seen the tiki room theme one is pretty cool. Like there's a lot of creative ways to further customize your stuff, and that's what I want to look into. Is like further customizing my droid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and even like lightsabers, like there's some people who, with 3D printers, have made their own lightsaber pieces. So there's a bunch of people that have or design. There's like a design for the Rey lightsaber from the end of Rise of Skywalker. So I've seen people, yellow crystal, the Galaxy Z chassis, and then they're custom printed pieces so it looks like Rey's lightsaber from the end of
Wow.
Rise of Skywalker. It's pretty cool looking.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I just want to get a 3D printer and make my own.
I know. I can see you going crazy with that.
Right? So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've just been watching Magic Happens videos.
Yeah,
It opens today.
I debated on whether I wanted to see it in a video or I just end up just going. I'll probably just end up going.
If you do go and watch it, yeah, please take video and let's post it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably go sometime next week, if not tomorrow. Well, tomorrow might be a little crazy, so maybe not tomorrow.
Yeah, and you take a better video than I would, because I won't. First of all, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get there. Maybe not before WonderCon, which is in April. So that's like an eternity for me. But then also, I got the shaky hand too. Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to take a very good video of it. And for some reason, every time I tried to take a video, at one point I stopped recording something. And I'm like, what the heck? What is this about? Like, when did this start? Or either that or I'll flip the screen, so all of a sudden I'm taking a video of myself. I tell you, I'm the worst.
Then you just call it a reaction video.
I know, exactly. Woo! All right, anyway. All right, let's get to the news.
There's a lot of it.
Yes, there's a lot of it. And at the top of our news, Bob Chapek was named the new CEO of Disney, effective immediately, with Bob Iger to remain executive chairman until 2021. And I don't want us to go into the Bob Chapek bashing mode, because there's a lot of it going on on Twitter.
Is there? I'm not really familiar with him. He was like the parks.
I'll just say in brief that he's known for kind of cutting corners. Like, for instance, one of the things that Galaxy's Edge was supposed to have, the roaming characters and things like that.
Right.
So he cut that back. And then he's also known for deflecting, things off of himself. Like there was the kind of president of Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and Disneyland Paris, and I can't remember what the title was, but anyway, her name was Catherine Powell, and she was let go because of presumably about what was going on with Galaxy's Edge, that it didn't seem to be as popular in the early days, and I think that he should have accepted responsibility for that. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Because I don't want to go into bashing mode. Like, we try to stay positive here on this podcast. And I'll just say that, he's got mighty big shoes to fill.
He does.
Yeah.
The era of Iger has been amazing. Everything he's done. So.
Yeah, no matter what you think about Iger, I mean, he brought in Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Fox. I mean, that's like an amazing legacy.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's leaving. I mean, honestly, if you're going to leave something this big, leave on a high note. And, leaving at the launch of Disney Plus, it's pretty good note to leave on. I mean, he's still going to be there for another year.
Yeah.
ish, right? And he's still kind of in the creative side of things,
Right.
from what I
Yeah.
understand, right? So, yeah,
Yeah. Like he was supposed to leave a long time ago, and
yeah,
all of these things kept happening, but it still came as a gut punch. When they announced it, I think it was because they said effective immediately.
yeah. It's like, oh, something. It felt like when you see the headline, something happened, but
Yeah.
you know, it's not really effective immediately because he's still around.
Right.
It would be more like weird if all of a sudden he just was not part of the company at all.
Yeah, that would have been really weird.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and good for him for wanting to retire.
he's done a lot in his life. Like I really want to
Yeah.
get his book.
Yeah, read his book. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
I got so much insight. Like if I didn't respect him before, after
Mm,
reading his book, I respect him completely because
nice.
he made things like you know Disney was not the board was not down on a lot of his purchases, and he kind of said that he went with his instinct, and like even Pixar, people were not really wanting to spend the money on Pixar, and he
Which is so weird.
saw the value of it. And
Yeah.
can you imagine Disney without Pixar? I mean, it's
When I
crazy.
remember when that was going on, I'm like, how? Like, there's no way that they're not gonna like get Pixar back. But then it
Hmm.
started. I think it really sounded for a little bit like, oh my god, they're not gonna get Disney or Pixar back,
Yeah.
and it'd be really, really weird, and really, really strange. But he stepped in
Yeah.
and made it happen.
Yeah, he talked about having this, developing this relationship with Steve Jobs, and how Steve Jobs was totally against them selling to Disney, and he was the one who healed this relationship with Steve Jobs, and it's just really read the book. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next story. The the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, is coming to Disney Plus. It's a series with the original cast returning, and I'm looking forward to it because I really enjoyed the original series.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like, I remember it, but I don't think I ever watched it.
It's
Uh,
out on Disney Plus now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen like, well, I haven't seen it, but I've seen like the news stories about it and seen the way it looks and whatever.
and it
So
had like an all-star cast. I mean, the Tommy Davidson was in it, and God, I can't remember, but I know that Cedric the Entertainer had a supporting role, and
mm.
um, some other. Boy, I'm having a brain fart as to who the other people were in the show, but they had some fairly big names attached to it.
Right,
I think even Samuel L. Jackson provided uh, showed up for like an episode or two.
nice.
Yeah, so very historic family. I mean, show in terms of it being an African American family, and an African American family of varying, um, you know, uh, likeness of skin and darkness of skin, which I
Mm.
think is really nice because uh, there are varying shades, and a lot of people don't think about that. That there are people who are darker, people who are lighter, and kind of the impact that happens because of that.
Hmm.
So anyway, very interesting stuff, and I'll be watching it. I need to catch up. I need to refresh myself with the original series again, which again is on Disney Plus. So I'll be watching that before this comes out. Love Simon, originally planned for Disney Plus, has been moved to Hulu and renamed Love Victor. And the reason why they say is that Love Simon was not deemed family friendly enough for Disney Plus, maybe because of sexuality. But it's not like Disney Plus hasn't had uh, gay characters on it or talked about gay issues, LGBT issues. Uh, we've seen it on The World According to Jeff Goldblum. He did a whole thing with drag queens.
Right.
And then High School Musical, the musical the series, had gay characters on it. It might be the content is a little more sexual, which on that level I can understand. Like they said that there was a show called High Fidelity,
Mm-hmm.
which they said was originally planned for Disney Plus. But I watched High Fidelity, and I don't think it belongs on Disney Plus. It's fine on Hulu. I mean, High Fidelity has a lot of sexual content in it.
Yeah.
So there's not everything belong. I would not say that Disney Plus is being homophobic. I would just say that they want a certain kind of content on there that isn't too, sexual, and I can understand that. Although Love Simon the movie I didn't think was very sexual, so I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not going to say that Disney Plus is being homophobic. I would just say that I would like to see what the final product is and the reason why they moved it to Hulu. But Hulu is not a bad place for it to be,
Right. I mean, like Disney Plus, I just see the main draw is family and kids. So even if like anything that has to do with sexuality, like in not in the sense of like the act.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Not the sexual orientation, but the yeah.
I can see like if they want to curb that, which is it's kind of why there's Disney Plus and there's Hulu. They put those kind of things a little more adult on Hulu without worrying about, especially like some families or parents could like complain about certain things. So
right,
anything that could, even if it's like innocent and whatever, anything that could potentially be controversial, they probably want to move off of Disney Plus, at least for the time being, right? Because it's still I mean, obviously, it's still a new channel, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in related news, Hilary Duff is not happy with Disney Plus right now, as the Lizzie McGuire series remains on hold. And the reason why people think that she's unhappy is because she took the Love Simon headline and circled it and said something like sounds familiar. So kind of sounding like he's talking about her own show. They think that Terry Minsky, who's the creator, remember how we talked about him leaving?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's him or her. I'm sorry, but they're leaving because of creative differences, and they think that the reason why is because they wanted the show to be a little bit more adult, and maybe that's the reason why this is all happening. So again, I don't know how they were developing Lizzie McGuire, but Disney Plus is going to be what it is.
Right.
It is interesting though, and I will say that they do have violent content on it, and not.
I mean,
there's this whole thing about how people accept violence over sexuality, and
that's a very
and what that
U.S. That's a very U.S. audience thing.
Right, exactly.
The way our society is in this country, at least, it's anything sexual is a big no-no, but we're cool about violence. And we don't want to get into the whole politics of that, but I mean that's pretty much what the U.S. society kind of is. Like anything sexual is the part where they're most concerned. That's where most kind of like censoring or whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
Violence seems to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. I still hope that they put the Lizzie McGuire series on Disney Plus, and that they're able to do somewhat of what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, I I think that she just doesn't want like a Fuller House situation
Mm,
where it's kind of this watered down.
right.
Not that Full House was this woo risque show, but I mean, it's kind of that whole. It's just as goofy as the first show. I think Hillary Duff wants it to be a little more adult.
Right.
So yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just think this early in the Disney Plus lifetime, they just really need to start with the basics, and then eventually they can maybe um, head towards like more adult content, or at least content that still is like, suitable for children, but could be
Mm-hmm.
going towards the PG-13 side, even though there are
Right.
PG-13 movies on Disney
On Disney
Plus.
Plus. Yeah.
So
It is interesting how they pick and choose, but unless until I can actually see the final product, I wouldn't know how to judge it.
right.
All right, let's move on to the next story, which is Lindsay Fonseca from Kick Ass and Cara Patterson from Straight Outta Compton have joined the cast of the Disney Plus series Turner and Hooch alongside Josh Peck. I like both of these actresses. I think that they'll do a good job. One of them, I think, plays his wife or girlfriend, and the other one plays his partner.
Hmm. I've never seen Kick-Ass, so I don't know.
Oh, you haven't seen Kick Ass? It's so good.
I have seen Straight Outta Compton. I don't know who she plays,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I'm not familiar with the the actors, so I don't know who they play, or I don't know who Cara Patterson plays in Straight Outta Compton. I've seen the movie.
Right. Yeah. I I I'm so bad at describing who, but anyway, she's really good. um. All right,
Awesome.
so we'll move on to the next story, which is Onward meet and greet characters Ian and Barley Lightfoot will make their debut appearances at Pixar Night at Disney California Adventure on March 5th, and then we'll meet in the park starting the following day. And I can't wait, and I can't believe that it might be not until April that I see them. They look so good. They look so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go to Pixar Night, but I just can't go down there. Uh, and it sounds fun. They have a whole bunch of characters that are going to be meeting at California Adventure that night.
Right.
So yeah. Although I would imagine that the lines for Ian and Barley are going to be crazy
Oh,
during
I'm
that
sure.
night because that's their debut, and everybody wants to get their picture first with them. So anyway, good times, good times. Can't wait to meet them.
Yeah, they started selling a bunch of Onward merchandise at the parks.
I want it all. I can't. I actually, I can't wait for this movie. I uh, originally with the advertising, I was kind of like, I don't know. But as the days go on, I am actually really looking forward to seeing this movie. So I'll be watching it on Thursday night.
Yes.
and post a review on Friday, next Friday. So
There you go.
be on the lookout for my review.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna be able to watch it, but hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, yeah, definitely watch it. All right, so Cinderella Castle at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World will be receiving a makeover. It's gonna get the like these kind of rose pink coloring and a lot of gold.
Hmm.
Uh, I I don't know how I feel about it. I've seen pictures of it, and I'll post a picture of it on our show notes. But to me, Cinderella Castle has always been kind of this ethereal blue. That's the way that it looks like in the animated feature. It doesn't look bad. It just I don't know. The I personally like that kind of blue tone. Uh, I don't know. Have you seen pictures of it?
Yeah. I mean, like it's for the anniversary,
Mm-hmm.
right? So have they said whether or not this is like a permanent thing? Kind of like,
I think it is like
is it,
with Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland.
hmm. I mean, I think it looks cool, but you know,
Yeah.
um, the
Well, we'll
the
see.
the pink part is kind of weird to me, only because Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty castle is pink.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like then all the castles are going to be pink, and that was the nice thing about Cinderella Castle is
Right,
that it was its own color.
right,
But I like the gold.
yeah,
It looks very regal for sure.
right. I mean, it looks like a like something for an anniversary. So
Yeah.
I just would have to see. I mean, like all we've seen has been the quote unquote concept art.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to wait and see what it looks like in real life.
Yeah. We'll see what it looks like. So, in final park news, with the closure of both Shanghai and Hong Kong Disneylands due to the coronavirus, the Oriental Land Company, which owns Tokyo Disneyland, is closing the park until March 15th. And I would imagine that, I mean, that seems like a short period of time, but I would imagine that that could be extended
Right.
depending on how bad the coronavirus gets moving forward.
Hmm.
But I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. I mean, these parks closing down, uh, until they are able to get the coronavirus under control. It's very, very sad, though, because,
Yeah.
I'm sure that Disney is hemorrhaging money with Shanghai and Hong Kong have been closed for
A
I don't
while
know
now.
how long, like yeah, a while. So they've got to be hemorrhaging money because of that.
Hmm.
And Oriental Land Company owns Tokyo Disneyland, so it's not quite as what hits Disney quite as much in the pocket for that one, but still, it definitely impacts them.
Yeah.
Uh, so hopefully they'll find a cure or get the coronavirus under control soon.
Yeah.
And I wish everybody that works for Tokyo Disneyland or any of the Shanghai or Hong Kong that that they're doing well, and I'm hoping that they're being paid.
Yeah. That would be. I mean, yeah. I don't know how they go about that. So
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, all right. Now moving on to our Star Wars news and I'm sure the piece of news that you've been chomping at the bit to talk about. But Lucasfilm has announced the Star Wars: The High Republic publishing campaign. And do you want to go into what this campaign is all about?
Um, yeah. So for I think about a year, I can't remember. I think it was like New York Comic Con last year. Um, During one of the publishing panels, they announced that there was something called Project Luminous,
Mm-hmm.
coming from the Yoda quote, "Luminous beings are we." Um, Talking about the Force and the Jedi, and it's supposed to be some kind. It was supposed to be some kind of new direction for publishing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been hints if you've been reading any of the especially the comics by Charles Soule. There's been hints at this mention of something called the High Republic, which is different from the Old Republic. Old Republic is thousands of years before any of the movies. Um, the High Republic, now we know, so Project Luminous turns out to be the High Republic, which really wasn't any big surprise. It was more like a confirmation of what has been hinted at for a couple months
Mm-hmm.
already. Um, so what this is the publishing side of Star Wars. This is comics, books, yeah, pretty much comics and books. Um, them taking a new era in Star Wars and creating stories from scratch. Basically, they're not beholden to the Skywalker saga. There's no real huge ties to the Old Republic stuff. Even the Legends line, so all the books and stuff written before the Disney acquisition, never really touched upon this era. So it kind of gives them, a clean slate to tell stories they want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking five. It's starting with a basic group of five authors: Charles Soule, Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Older, and Kevin Scott, whose work so far in the publishing world since the acquisition has been phenomenal. Like all of them are great at what they do.
Yeah.
Right. So High Republic is 200 years before Phantom Menace. It's described as the height of the Jedi. There is no Empire versus whatever, so there's no major conflict within the galaxy. It's pretty much a peaceful time as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like they're comparing it to the Wild West. So it's um, 20 years before Phantom Menace. So we're talking about the galaxy in Star Wars minus probably the Outer Rim. The Outer Rim at
Right.
this point is the unknown area. So the Jedi and the Republic, if that's what it's called at this point, is expanding outwards. And so
Mm-hmm.
the Jedi are kind of these like, it's almost like a Wild West in that sense. But the Jedi are also described as sort of like the Knights of the Round Table.
Right.
And I think this is like something we like ever since A New Hope that we kind of wanted to see. When Ben Kenobi is like, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace throughout the galaxy for
Mm-hmm.
thousands of years, and we haven't seen that yet. We saw
Right.
the Jedi in the prequel era at their fall, so
Mm-hmm.
at their worst, basically. And
Yeah.
then throughout the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, they're non-existent except for there's Luke, and then there's Rey. Right,
Yeah.
right. So we haven't really seen the Jedi as Jedi. Legends kind of hints at it a little bit. Old Republic. There is technically no official canon for Old Republic. This is all from legend stories and the video game. But
Mm-hmm.
technically, the video game is not part of canon. So while they could explore that at some point, there's already kind of a built-in lore to the Old Republic, even if they don't go with it. It's going to be kind of like why some people complain about the sequel trilogy and it didn't follow any of the legend stories. It's just too much
Mm-hmm.
for any creative use, really. Like everyone would always have a hand tied behind their back to write stories.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so this is basically, yeah, a new era of Star Wars storytelling, and it's for me, it's what the old books used to be like.
Hmm.
Before we had the prequel trilogy, and of course the sequel trilogy, and any of the shows, that we just had the original trilogy, and then Timothy Zahn started writing books, and then that was Star Wars. It was all these authors coming in and comic book writers giving us the expanded universe, more stories in Star Wars, and they kind of made up their own stories. They took the story from after Return of the Jedi and propelled it forward, always
Hmm.
following, but most of it was always following the timeline of the Skywalkers. Like Luke
Right.
has always been a major presence in those books, Han, Leia. Even with books that didn't actually include them, it was still their timeline.
Right.
Um, since the acquisition, publishing has been more like, um, kind of like,
Following those stories
no, they
as well.
weren't.
Oh.
They weren't. It was not. They didn't really write their own stuff. It was more like they were accompanying what was going on. The build up to Force Awakens, the build up to Last Jedi, the build up to Rise of Skywalker. They,
Right. That's what I meant when I was saying that.
oh yeah. So they've
Yeah.
never really got a chance to tell other stories, and now the way they did before. So now
Hmm.
they get to set the era the way they want to do it.
Right.
Um, and I can go a lot about this, but like, what's interesting to me is that so far the publishers involved are not just it's not just going to be like books and comics, though it's part of
Hmm.
it. Like all of Disney publishing, so Disney Lucasfilm Press is usually where your children books are. So there's going to be children books. Del
Hmm.
Rey is their novels. Obviously, they're going to be there. Marvel Comics is going to have a line. What's interesting is that IDW, which is not Marvel, uh,
Right.
is also comics. They're going to do the like Star Wars. They're going to continue doing Star Wars Adventures ish, which is more your young adult children comics.
Right.
Um, Abrams Publishing is where you'll find all the art of, so the art of Rise of Skywalker, the art of Force Awakens. So they're involved, which means there's going to be some kind of probable art of the High Republic book coming out. Viz Media is their manga division, so like they've they've mangaized, if that's a word, other books like Lost Stars has been manga eyes. So they're gonna do
Uh-huh.
that, but it's gonna be hopefully original stories in that. And then DK is where your visual guides are. So there's gonna be more than just. I mean, this is more than just stories. They're gonna build the universe. Especially with the reference publishers, art books, the visual guides. I mean, so there's gonna be stuff beyond just the stories to describe the era. Um,
Yeah, that's cool. I
right?
love the DK visual guides.
Yeah. What's also interesting is the authors themselves. Some of them aren't doing what they normally do. Like the first book that's going to come out on August 25th, right before Star
Hmm.
Wars Celebration, is Light of the Jedi. This is a novel. It kicks everything off. Written by Charles Soule. Charles Soule currently writes comics. So it's interesting
Hmm.
that he's going to write a novel, right? Where Daniel Jose Older, kind of who is writing novels for Star Wars, is going to go and write the children's comics.
Interesting.
And then,
Fun fact about Charles Soule. You know that he used to be a lawyer.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he used to be a lawyer, and that's what got him writing the She-Hulk comics. And
that
so,
makes sense.
yeah, so it's interesting to see that he's going to be now writing a book after having. I think it's fascinating that just one day he decides to write a graphic novel, and the next thing you know, he's like one of the most prolific comic book writers out
Yeah.
there, and now
Um,
he's going to be writing this book.
I've kind of briefly mentioned or talked about it, the idea that I wanted to kind of do a spin-off of this podcast about Star Wars and
Mm-hmm.
diving into that kind of stuff. And it's not, I don't want to dive into the movies more. It's diving into these things.
Yeah.
The Charles Soule comics in Star Wars are amazing. And that's why like his name in it excited me along with like, actually all of my colleague Claudia Gray wrote some great young adult Star Wars novels. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so having these guys at the helm, I've fully embraced it, and
Excited.
I'm excited to see what this is going to go. And, there's been some complaints about how this is not movies or whatever, and people are like, why isn't, or is it going to be part of the movies? Is whatever. Um,
Do you think that it'll eventually
I
become part of
think
the
it could
movie?
eventually. I mean, it's going to be. I think Disney Lucasfilm is going to see how
Yeah.
how people react to it, and see the kind of stories that come out, and see whether or not it makes sense to bring some of these characters to the movies or just something in the era. You know,
And we don't know what the movies are going to be like. I mean, they haven't come out and said, here's our slate of movies and this is what it's going to be about.
yeah,
So who knows? I mean, they probably just want to get a start on it with these adventures in publishing.
yeah. And what I like about this also that it's not, there's not this one, there's no Skywalker. That I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
one of the things they wanted to do is like it's not centered around a family. It's centered
Right.
around a group of different kinds of characters. Like yeah, the Jedi is going to be a big part of it, but then there's some books here where you see Jedi along with other people in the galaxy, not that aren't Jedi. So they're working with other, facets of society and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and then the villain that they are, talking about are called the Nile. That they hearken to Viking-like people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a race, so it's not like they came from a planet called Nile or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
From the concept art, it's almost like if you've seen Solo, Memphis Nest's group.
Yeah.
They're like kind of like
Like a gang, like
like
a
a gang,
gang.
yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
we saw like a Twi'lek. I think we saw a Gungan. Um, so it's be really interesting to see that this conflict between the galaxy and these guys as like these like probably really annoying raiders who might turn into a stronger force at some point, to see what that's like, where they aren't about controlling everything. I think it's more like heightened raiders, like they take what they want, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're interested in ruling. I just think they just want to do what they want to do. So it's throwing chaos into the world of peace. So
Right. Right.
be interesting to see. But yeah, like I said, like I want to explore this a little bit more. Probably it will necessitate a different podcast or something.
Yeah.
So
I think that would be good. I think that would be nice to kind of, especially in this kind of new era of the High Republic,
yeah,
and getting a little bit more familiar with that, because in case it eventually get leaks into the movies and television shows and
right.
whatever else, video games.
Yeah,
So,
that's my hope that we'll get some video games in this era, and definitely maybe TV shows, and eventually movies. So
hmm.
it's exciting stuff.
All right. Well, that's great. Thanks for sharing
Mhm.
all that information. All right, so moving to the next story, Slight director J.D. Dillard will develop a Star Wars movie. And I didn't get to see Slight, but I saw the trailer,
Mhm.
and it looks really good. I actually am surprised that I had not heard of the movie. It's I don't know if you saw the trailer for it, but or seen the movie, but
No, I saw
it's
I've seen the trailer, and I know the synopsis of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's basically about this kind of like con artist, not magician. What do you call them? Yeah, magician,
Yeah.
who gets involved with this gang, and then it turns out that he's not just like a con artist magician, but he actually has powers.
Right.
And I want to watch this movie. I'm definitely gonna check it out. But uh, do you have any idea as to what he might develop?
I have no idea. Like I
Yeah,
honestly, like for any of the movies, I have no idea. Like
yeah.
the last movie that was talked about, well, set of movies was the Game of Thrones guys possibly doing Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
But that was never ever really confirmed. We know Ryan Johnson has been working on or will be working on something original too, but we don't know what era or where this story is going to take place.
Yeah,
So the only concrete movie that kind of was going to happen was the Boba Fett movie,
right.
and that's no longer uh, something. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, it'll be exciting. This should be the first African American who will develop Star Wars movie
yeah,
as opposed to television show because what's his name?
Rick,
Uh, Rick Fumiyawa.
which I can never pronounce his last name. I'm sorry.
What's funny is I was able to pronounce his last name, but I couldn't remember what his first name was,
Simple
which was
Rick.
Rick. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he was in the Mandalorian. I mean, he was in the Mandalorian, but he was also directed the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the Mandalorian, James Mangold, Robert Rodriguez, and a bunch of other directors are said to have directed sequences of The Mandalorian Season 2 with Bryce Dallas Howard to return. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So James Mangold, who did Logan, was speaking of the Boba Fett movie. That was his movie. He was supposed to do Boba Fett.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's good that, I mean, obviously if he's involved with the Mandalorian, he's definitely someone who wants to do a Star Wars something. So it's
Yeah.
cool.
And he did Ford versus Ferrari, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's one he did.
Yeah, so very high caliber director.
Yeah. Robert Rodriguez, a big indie favorite, most known for Sin City and the Spy Kid series and Desperado. He has his own studio called Troublemaker Studios. He's one of my people I look to as a filmmaker because of his beginnings. Right, he had like a truck, he had a
Mm-hmm.
couple like a cast, and that's all he had, and he made El Mariachi, which developed into
Oh,
Desperado, and then he's somebody who's really involved in all aspects of filmmaking, writing, directing. He does music, so it's very up my alley, the kind of things
and
I
he
do.
makes pizza.
Yeah, and he also does, like some of his, like in Sin City, the DVD has a 10-minute cooking school where he teaches you how to make breakfast tacos. So he's like a filmmaker after my own heart. Like, I'm a musician, I'm a cook. I everything he does, I'm like, this is what I want to be. Like the Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith. If there was a hybrid, that would be me. Of what
Yeah.
the kind of like creator I am. So I'm excited. I was excited to see his name definitely involved. It's said that there have been others also that have visited the set and possibly directed sequences. Now, it's weird that they say sequences, so I'm curious what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
Because it's I don't know if it's well known, but like Steven Spielberg directed sequences on Revenge of the Sith. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
I didn't know
I
that.
want to say part of like the Yoda and Palpatine fight, he did parts of it, something like that. Like he's not a full. Obviously he wasn't a full director, but he did help out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if we're gonna know if it's just a small sequence or not, whether or not they're gonna be in the credits or whatever. But if they're looking to these guys to direct in the future, that'd be awesome. And it's cool that it confirms that Bryce Dallas Howard is returning to the director's chair.
Yeah.
So we now know Filoni's going to direct, Carl Weathers, and then Howard. But there's also Favreau is now that he has time, because remember, like when Mandalorian was being produced, he was also doing The Lion King at that point.
Right.
So he wasn't able to direct, but they say he's going to at least direct sequences or maybe a full episode. So
that would be great.
Yeah, I'm excited to see who else they get for this. Like, I strongly feel like this is the incubation point for Star Wars directors. Like, get these guys involved in how Star Wars is, understand the universe, and then go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool stuff.
All right. Well, speaking of The Mandalorian, The Mandalorian star Giancarlo Esposito has said that there will be, quote-unquote, major lightsaber action in Season 2.
Yeah.
Who do you think he's going to be fighting?
I don't know. Well, I mean, like, the Mandalorians themselves have honed their skills at fighting Jedi as well as, whatever. So, warrior-wise, they have tools to fight the Jedi. A good episode of Rebels is when Kanan is teaching Sabine how to fight with the Darksaber that Moff Gideon has. So Giancarlo Esposito has the Darksaber. When Kanan's teaching her how to use it, she talks about how the Mandalorians develop gadgets and these things that help them fight the Jedi. They don't have powers like the Jedi, but they had to figure out how to fight them. So I don't think we're going to see saber on saber action. I think it's going to be kind of like how in Last Jedi, you saw Rey and Kylo fighting the guards, and their weapons weren't. It wasn't just like lightsabers cutting down their weapons. Like the weapons themselves were able to deflect lightsabers.
Right.
Same thing with the droids in the prequel era. When Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting Grievous's droids, they had those staves that can deflect lightsabers too. So I think it's going to be more along that. So I don't see I'm assuming it's going to be Gideon versus the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think the Mandalorians will be wielding a lightsaber, but they have gadgets that we've seen. Maybe the armor is going to build them something like a cool sword or something that can deflect lightsabers. That'd be cool. But it'd be kind of cool to finally see that saber in live action in a fight. So. But yeah, I kind of love how Giancarlo Esposito is like really excited about his role.
Oh yeah,
right. Because he's the characters he mostly plays are these kind of like, bad guys. So he always seems very serious and whatever. But I've seen him in interviews and he's like super, super excited. So
joyous about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see who he fights.
Yeah, he did say it's not Baby Yoda, so we're not gonna see Baby Yoda holding a lightsaber anytime soon. So
yeah, or spin around like the Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah. But we might see Baby Yoda spin around like a Tasmanian Devil, but definitely probably not with a lightsaber. So.
All right. Well. Back to the park for a minute. That we've all learned how to crash the Millennium Falcon on Smuggler's Run.
That is not hard.
But apparently there is a Chewbacca mode where instead of Hondo and Naka narrating the ride, it's Chewbacca.
Yeah.
And have you tried this?
No.
Or did you know about it?
I mean, I didn't know about it until I've seen a couple people on YouTube do it. And it is what it is. And like it's basically instead of Hondo Ohnaka guiding you through the mission, it's just Chewbacca yelling at you the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing, but it's hard to do because you need all 6 people in that cockpit to do something.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's if you're even if you're a group of like 4 and you have 2 random people, you never know if they're gonna understand what you're trying to do, or maybe they don't want to do it at the Chewbacca mode.
Right. Yeah, you have to
So
have
you
six
have to
people
have
who are
all
into
6
it.
stations do something before the ride starts. Basically, I mean it's simple, but
Yeah.
you just have everyone there. Like I said, I'm gonna be there tomorrow. We have 5 people, so I don't know if
Oh,
we're gonna be able to do it. So
man.
um,
That's too bad.
yeah, one of these days. It's because it's not hard. It's fairly simple. You just need literally all 6 people to do something specific.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe next time I'm there, we can get 6 people to
yeah,
go.
hopefully. But yeah,
Yeah.
one YouTube couple, like the one that did the Black Kyber Crystal challenge. Um, they since they have fans, right? They posted on like Instagram. It's like, hey, we're here in Galaxy's Edge. We want to try this out. Can we? We need 2 more people. And then these 2 random kids showed up and said like, we want to do it. So they were able to do it. So I saw the video. It's the same mission. And it's Chewbacca the
Yeah.
whole time, and it's hilarious. And like, because the worse you do, obviously he's gonna start yelling at you because you're breaking his Falcon. So
Yeah. And I'm posting a video of there's a bunch of people that went to ride it and posted a video on how to do it. So
yeah,
for anybody that wants to know, check out our show notes, and I'll have a video running there.
what's interesting is that this this hack was like a myth for a long time because there was a post I think on Reddit where like the
Uh,
daughter of someone who worked on the ride said there's like hidden things in the programming. So
yeah,
now it's like, is this the only thing they hid in the programming?
right. Yeah, you never know.
Right?
So hopefully, we'll hear more and more
Yeah.
things that you can do on
I
it.
mean, originally this ride is supposed to be have consist of multiple missions, so it's not the same each single time. Kind of like when Star Tours started. The original plan was to recycle the where you're going after a while, and they didn't do that for like years. I think it was like 20 years before they actually had recycle like new areas to go through.
Hmm.
But that was always the case with, I think, Star Tours. They wanted to do that at some point. They just never got around to it. Same thing with Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. It's supposed to be different missions at some point. So
Yeah,
hopefully, maybe someone else will
yeah,
find out what the other things are to do. So
yeah. All right. Well, in other Lucasfilm news, according to Hollywood Reporter, Steven Spielberg may no longer direct Indiana Jones 5, and James Mangold, who we talked about earlier, may step in. Uh, Interesting
it's very
piece of
interesting.
news.
Um,
Yeah.
if I don't know the circumstances on why Spielberg may not direct it.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm all for it. Like maybe it needs a different,
Need some new blood.
you know, I think maybe it could be also like I don't think Lucas is involved in this. Do you know?
I don't, because
Because he's kind of
he's yeah.
dropped out
I think
of
of
you know.
the whole thing.
So maybe it's one of those
Yeah.
things where Spielberg's like, I'm not going to do this with my buddy. Maybe I don't want to do it.
Yeah, or it might just be that he's just tired of it.
Yeah,
Not saying that he doesn't like it, but that after a while, even he probably thinks maybe he's not bringing
anything new
the
to
right kind of
or
blood in.
something.
Yeah, that it needs a new blood for it to
Um,
continue.
I wonder if he's going to be in an executive producer on it still.
I'm
I
sure.
can't imagine him not being involved in a little bit of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I would imagine that he'd be at least an executive producer.
yeah. So I mean, James Mangold also did Logan. So
Hmm.
if you're gonna take an old grizzled hero into a story, maybe this might be Indiana Jones as we know him, his last, at least the last of the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movies. You
Yeah.
know, maybe it's a good thing that we're getting someone new there. Um, my hope is that whatever happens with Indiana Jones 5 is not it's not the last for Indiana Jones, the character,
Oh, I doubt it. I
right?
doubt it.
You know, I mean, I don't. I think this is going to be Harrison's last Indiana Jones because I mean he's getting up there. Obviously, he's still good to go, but these movies take years to develop, and you know,
And it takes a lot out of the actors.
yeah,
That's it's not like he just sits in an office and
right,
and chats it up with the his coworkers. He's actually got a lot of physical stuff to do,
yeah.
and
Like I would love to
not meaning to be
see,
ageist, but
right. I mean, like it's I don't even age. I mean, like it's reality. At some point,
yeah,
Harrison has been through a lot. Um, and Indiana Jones is not an easy role because he's known for a lot of crazy stunts and action, right? So
exactly, yeah,
I think the franchise does need something new, and I do hope they kind of explore after this movie Disney Plus. Like the
yeah,
Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was a good concept, but maybe bring that into modern time, like not modern as in like make this take place and then like the 90s. I think they can
right,
explore that age of. I mean, there's a lot of Indiana Jones' life that we haven't seen. So, like
hmm,
the era between Young Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, right?
yeah,
Um, you know, his start as a professor and what the kind of things he did during that time period, or what brought him to be a professor, and the adventures he could have had then, and then you could recast it, you know, obviously,
hmm,
and have a younger version of Indiana Jones, and then maybe they can spill into movies afterwards. You know, so
yeah.
there's a lot of things
I,
you can do.
Yeah, I definitely don't think this is the end of Indiana Jones. Disney loves to mine its intellectual property, so
Right.
uh, I think that this is just the beginning for him, really.
Yeah, and I think after the reception of Crystal Skull, they want to end Harrison's run on a higher note. I'm hoping.
Hmm.
You know,
That's what I'm thinking.
um, yeah, because it's funny because when I think of the Indiana Jones, I really just think of the three movies and then this other story that took place.
Hmm.
Right? It's
Yeah,
really to me Temple of Doom, Raiders, Last Crusade, and then oh yeah, he kind of did Crystal Skull. It's kind of like Toy Story 4. Like Toy Story
yeah,
1 through 3 was the story, and then Woody had his own little adventure.
yeah,
So,
yeah. That's funny.
but
Toy
but I
Story.
like Toy Story 4.
I love Toy Story 4.
Crystal Skull is one of those I'm like, if it's on, I'll catch some of it, but I wasn't a big fan of it. Even though like I love Kate Blanchett.
Yeah,
I love that they brought back Marion. Um,
Ravenwood.
yeah,
Yeah,
but Shia LaBeouf I wasn't too keen on his character.
yeah.
Yeah, so
All right. Well, moving on to our Marvel news. Um, some casting details from Loki suggest that they are casting for the Time Variance Authority, with theories that Owen Wilson may play Justice Peace, the leader of the organization. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the Time Variance Authority, in the comic books, it is this group that regulates a timeline. And I guess the casting details that were seen kind of lead people to think that this is who Owen Wilson is playing, like this Justice Peace guy, who is the leader of the organization, which I said. Um, we saw in the Disney Plus Super Bowl ad
Yeah.
that he was wearing the jumpsuit that said TVA on it. So I think that this could be right.
Yeah. I mean, like, we don't. It's probable that that's who Owen Wilson is playing. But we do know that the Time Variance Authority is part of that story in some way, shape, or form. So,
right,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much about that show we don't know, but I am looking forward to seeing what they do.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see what they do. So, all right. So, Glow star Alison Brie is rumored to be Marvel Studios' top choice to play Jennifer Walters in She-Hulk on Disney Plus. Now, I haven't seen Glow, but I have seen her in Mad Men,
Right.
and I have seen her in Community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she'd be a perfect choice, actually.
Yeah, it makes sense when they said Alison Brie. Like, she didn't pop on my radar as like potentials, but then again, like, I couldn't really think of anybody.
Nobody, yeah, no, I couldn't think of anybody.
So it's not like I had a list and she wasn't on it. It's like I had no list.
Yeah, I'm so bad at fan casting, like so bad at it.
I think the only one I was like truly I thought of before it happened was oh my god, Patrick Stewart as Professor X. All those years ago, I'm like, he should play Professor X, and then he played Professor X, and I was like, yes. That's the only time I kind of had any intuition on casting. So,
right.
But yeah.
He was Professor
But yeah,
X,
Alison Brie makes sense. Like, I can see it. So I wonder, maybe, I don't know when it gets news on this. I'm hoping, Comic-Con in San Diego will know a lot more about all the Marvel shows.
Yeah.
So
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So, according to a Hasbro investors meeting that took place during Toy Story 4.
Toy Story
4. That both Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye are set to premiere in 2021 on Disney Plus. So they better get crack-a-lackin' on casting and all this stuff.
I want to see who they're casting as Ms. Marvel. Like,
like you said, I am really hoping that Comic-Con will
give us a
lot of doors on this.
I can imagine they're gonna have to, because they couldn't really do much last Comic-Con because of Endgame just came out, so it's not like they could have said where everything is gonna go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they started much of anything, and I think they wanted, and it was still too new. Like, Endgame was still in theaters and stuff, so I think if they gave out casting news or whatever, it could have led into a little more spoiler territory for Endgame or whatever. So, I think this is the year that they can finally go, like, okay, we kind of tease everything, what's coming out, but here is more. Here is the direction we're going. Here is more of everything. So, like, all the, like, She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, like, who are in these shows?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and speaking of Moon Knight on Disney Plus is scheduled to begin production this fall.
So does that mean that's going to come out in 2021?
I don't.
Because it's Ms. Marvel like and Hawkeye, right? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe that'd be crazy if all these shows come out in 2021. There'd be so much.
And I guess maybe it will depend on how much post-production. Like, Hawkeye, I wouldn't imagine would need as much post-production as She-Hulk or Ms. Marvel.
Well, Ms. Marvel, compared to them, yeah. I mean, Hawkeye's is going to be mostly, like, putting in arrows.
Right. Right, where She-Hulk turns green and big, and Ms. Marvel
I feel like
embiggens
I feel like
herself.
Ms. Marvel is going to be the hardest of them because with She-Hulk you can like replace her with a full CG character.
Right.
With
Yeah.
Ms. Marvel, she's still Ms. Marvel, but her body parts just change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's not a
Yeah.
full CG character. Like part of her has to be CG. So it's to be a blending of the two. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, if they turn her into a CG character, you'll kind of be like, yeah, but she looks weird.
Right.
Kind of like if you ever seen The Rock as the Scorpion King. Like you can totally tell he's a CG character, and it looks weird.
Yeah. Although, hopefully CG has
I know
improved
since
since that
then,
time.
but I mean, like, there's still you want to do CG characters, for especially when there's gonna be a lot of screen time. At some point,
Yeah.
it looks weird. Like it works with very brief glimpses, like when we see Princess Leia in Rogue One or Tarkin. Even Tarkin was pushing
Right.
it, like because there was something just a little off.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Right? But if Ms. Marvel is a main character, so obviously screen times to be 90% Ms. Marvel, so and it's going to be on on TV show
On Disney
budget
Plus, yeah.
on TV. So yeah, I figure Ms. Marvel is probably the hardest of them.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that it's going to look bad.
Yeah. I mean, Disney's going.
They're going to want to do. Yeah,
Production.
they're going all out.
I mean, look at The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
And I think Mandalorian, the way they filmed it, it's a game changer for special effects driven stories, especially for Disney stuff. I can see all the productions on Marvel and Disney and especially with special effects and different environments and whatever, that's the way to go, because that is amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about doing shorter runs than your average 22 episode season.
Yeah.
Which you don't really need anymore. I mean, you really don't.
Not with the way
those seasons.
Yeah.
Because they take up a lot of filler.
Yeah, because they're time based. Like you have to go through a season, like this date to this date. You got to fill in fall to the winter break, and then you got to keep new shows up because you want the ratings to keep going week to week to week. But yeah, like I think we learned from the Mandalorian. Film what you need to film. Make the episodes as long as it needs to be to tell the story, and you don't have to do a lot of filler. So I'm hoping that's the way Marvel's gonna approach it too.
Yeah.
So
I hope so too. All right. Well, in our final news story, Toy Fair concluded last weekend in New York, and there's a lot of great Disney news. And I'm posting links to a lot of the pictures and things like that on our because we won't be able to see us talking about them. But I'm posting a lot of links on our show notes, so check those out. Lots of great stuff. Anything that pops out to you that you want that we haven't talked about in the last episode?
I mean, there's a lot. Like I put in the show notes, like some of the major things coming out for all the things. So Star Wars, like obviously Baby Yoda for Star Wars is like the big thing, and we talked about that. What I personally am looking forward to is they have the 6-inch scale snowspeeder. The thing is like 2 feet long.
Wow.
Comes with DAC. And like the snowspeeder is one of my favorite vehicles from Star Wars. And so I definitely I missed getting the TIE fighter from the Force Awakens. They had a 6-inch scale TIE fighter.
I'm surprised you missed it.
It's just it's expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
But this one I need to because it's one of my favorite vehicles.
Ships.
The thing about the TIE Fighter from The Force Awakens, it was the Force Awakens version. If it was the original trilogy version, I would have been more like, oh, I might need to get this.
You're going to get it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, start about Star Wars. Marvel, they have the Age of Apocalypse figures, which is a comic storyline from, oh man, I think back in the 90s.
Yeah, from the 90s.
Which is one of my favorite Marvel storylines, where they literally, all of the X-Men books stopped production and they renamed them all to fit this alternate timeline that happened. And then so they have figures from that. Spider-Man has a retro line, so it's the packaging from the 90s with updated figures. And I think it's cool that they have a Peter Parker figure and a Gwen Stacy figure. And the Gwen Stacy figure has a swappable Mary Jane head. So you can have Gwen
really?
Stacy
I didn't see that.
and you can have Mary Jane. So you have to buy two if you want both figures out at the same time. But
that's awesome.
It's not the only one that has swappable heads. So Marvel also has Legends lines from the movies, Deadpool, Black Widow, and the X-Men, which has Professor X and Magneto with swappable heads, which means you can have Professor X as Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy, and you have Magneto with Sir Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender.
Wow.
So yeah, and then there's some vehicles that are coming out, and the one I want to get is Squirrel Girl on a scooter. So
wait, I didn't see this. Where was this?
See, I did a little bit more research on what came out.
out.
I'll try to find them again, and then I'll put them in the show notes. Okay. And then they also have a Stan Lee Marvel Legends figure. So it's Stan Lee. He's carrying like a briefcase, and he's got a signed Captain America shield with him.
Yeah, you definitely saw more than I did, because I definitely would like to see those, because I want the Stan Lee. I definitely want the Squirrel Girl if they have a Squirrel Girl.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
It's cool because it's Squirrel Girl, a little scooter, and then one of the squirrels with her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. On the Disney side, there's some cool, there's like a weird, I've noticed lately there's toys that are out that are interconnected. Like I went to Target one day and I was looking for toys for Cassiana, and so I went to like the little kid section and I pressed this button on something, and then all of a sudden the whole row of toys started talking to each other. I'm like,
what? Like interactive?
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on? So they have for Frozen, Anna, Elsa, and Olaf that pretty much sing together, talk to each other, they tell the story. So you get it separately, or then they'll each do something. But when you're all together and you do something, they'll start interacting with each other. So that's kind of a cool thing that's coming out.
Yeah.
They're doubling down on the kind of the Wreck-It Ralph 2 princesses.
The Comfy Squad.
Yeah, well, they have that, and like they have vehicles, like they have like a food truck or something. So
yeah,
there's that. Obviously, with Mulan coming out, there's some Mulan merch.
Right.
Dolls and whatnot. And then they also have you can buy a Nerf bow, so you can shoot people. That's cool.
Yeah, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Mr. Potato Heads got their 25th anniversary, so they're doing a line of mini Mr. Potato Heads.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Yeah. I didn't see that either.
Yeah. Lego's got a bunch of stuff. The Razor Crest, I think we talked about last time. I definitely want.
Yes.
Besides that, the Avengers, they have a Avengers line, Spider-Man line, Frozen. Moana has some stuff, which is kind of cool that they coming out with Moana merch still. And then obviously, because of the movie, Mulan has some Lego sets, so that's kind of cool.
Nice.
Funko, Soul figure, like Funko Pops are coming out.
Yeah.
Disney villains, they have Maleficent and Hades on thrones, so that's kind of cool looking.
Cool.
Marvel, Valkyrie on her horse, and then a Stan Lee as the barber in Thor,
which I need.
right?
I need that one
And then,
for sure.
but then they also have there's going to be a Mighty Ducks line from the movies,
Nice.
and Dinosaurs, the TV show,
Need those all. I love that show.
right?
Dinosaurs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish that it was on Disney Plus.
Right. I wonder if it's
Yeah.
because it was. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll get it.
Yeah, hopefully,
Um,
because that show is hilarious.
yeah. Then
It's actually really good. I saw the first season recently, and it's actually really good.
yeah, I remember it was funny. I mean, it was like weird
Yeah,
because they're like puppety and whatever, but I mean, for
right.
what it was surprisingly like good because it was on prime time, right? It wasn't like a Saturday morning thing,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. It was prime time.
yeah. And then there's some board game news. Like I'm big on board games, so there's going to be a Jungle Cruise board game, Hocus Pocus game. Some
Which I need.
something like so. I bought my sister Villainous, the Disney Villainous board game for
Yeah,
Christmas.
that looks fun.
It's cool. So they're coming out with another expansion. They've had a couple. So this new expansion, they're going to have Cruella, Mother Gothel, and Pete.
Nice.
But the one I was surprised that they're going to do is we have a Marvel expansion. So
For the
yeah,
game? For villains?
yes.
Nice.
So the villains are going to be Ultron, Hela, and Thanos.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that I'm
I need to
definitely
get that
gonna
game.
get. It's we played it a couple times. There's a lot of it's time consuming and there's some strategy involved. And all the
Really?
villains, it's weird because you play the villains, they all have different motives, and
Yeah.
so it's not really the same for each player. They all have different things they need to do to win. And some are easier than others, so it's that's why I like the fact that they're coming out with these expansions so that you get to play different villains and do different things. So
Nice.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
yeah, last but not least, National Geographic has some cool like stuff because now that National Geographic is part of the Disney company. Yeah, like telescopes, cool things for kids, dinosaur kind of like excavation thingies, and then like a whole slime series of stuff. It's kind of cool.
Cool. Slime.
But yeah.
Gotta love it.
Also, so like during the convention, I guess Galaxy's Edge Droids won for most innovative toy, I think, or something that year. And
Ah,
also the Toy Story 4 line of figures was voted like best figures of 2019 or something like that.
really?
Yeah.
That they did come up with a good line for Toy Story 4.
Yeah,
Lots of it. Lots of
lots of them.
toys
So,
in that line. Yeah. So,
so
anyway. Very cool.
one day I
Yeah.
want to go to this convention, but
I know. I
yeah,
know. I would love to go to this convention one day.
yeah,
I mean, I would like. I mean, like it would be like going to Comic Con for the first time.
yeah,
Just like ooh.
yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to our main topic, which is our 5 favorite things to do at Disneyland. It could technically be any Disney park, but because you and I go to Disneyland all the time, I figure
Right.
that it's pretty much going to be Disneyland. So we'll start off. I don't think that it's any surprise that my number one thing is going to meet the characters.
What?
Yeah, I know. I love going to see the characters. And it all stems back from my first memory,
Right.
my earliest memory of meeting Mickey Mouse, and it's always been such a pleasure to see the characters at the parks, and there's something just very special about it to me. So
I get it.
that's my number one
I
thing
think
that I love to do.
probably one of the reasons why I'm not big on it is because, from what I understand, I was afraid of all the characters when I was a kid. kind of like how Cassiana is. Like
And you still
from
are.
afar, Cassiana's like, ooh, goofy. But then you get close and like big
Yeah.
head and there's like weird things. She gets like, I think I was the same
Yeah.
way. Like I love like Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and stuff, but like seeing them in real life with that big head, I think this like overwhelmed me as a little child. So I was like, I'm one of those ones who cried.
It's interesting to see how different kids, like I'll watch little kids, some of them like really scared,
Yeah,
and others of them just like latch onto them,
yeah.
so like just love them, and it's very interesting seeing, and it's not like an age range.
No,
I see like a lot of little kids that love them, and a lot of bigger kids that are scared of them, and so it's very fun.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How about you?
I didn't order mine because I don't know what my order would be, but
Yeah, just pick one,
for
and
me,
we'll just go down the line.
I like trying food.
Yes,
Especially
I love trying food.
during the festivals. Like Food and Wine starts today, actually.
I know.
I was looking at some of the new foods that I'm like there's stuff I definitely want to try. So
There's this macaron that I saw that looks so
I
good. It's
know,
like apparently tastes like
and I
Snickers.
can't have it because I'm allergic.
Oh, because of the nuts.
Well,
Yeah.
one, macarons have almond flour. That's one of the
Oh.
components of what makes that texture.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
so I'm allergic to them no matter what. But like add further insult to injury. Add in some other kind
The
of actual
nuts.
nuts. Like there's a pull apart monkey bread. And they're like, yes,
Yeah.
and they're like, and we put walnuts on top. I'm like, nuts, literally nuts.
No.
And it's not
No.
like one of the situation where I can ask for them to leave it out because this is all kind of pre-made kind of stuff. So
Made.
it's
Yeah.
not like they can go, oh, let me get the chef and make you something different. Like it's like normally in like sit down restaurants they can do that. They can cater to allergies and whatnot. These are the
Right.
kind of thing because they're small and they're kind of like mini fast food kiosks, right?
Yeah.
So they really can't accommodate to that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I miss out on because they throw nuts on things.
Oh, that's sad.
But
Oh, sad clown.
there's like a new mac and cheese they have this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new impossible mac. Like an impossible mac and cheese something something. I don't understand. But there are some desserts also that I can get, and like there's stuff like off the top of my head I can't remember, but yeah. Um,
I think I just read something about Disney forming some kind of partnership with the Impossible
yeah, I
people.
mean, they've kind of had it. So
Yeah.
the last couple of festivals have always been like meatless options, and because I do want to increase the kind of meatless options for people who don't eat meat and whatnot.
Right. Right.
And what they've been using has been the Impossible brand. Like I've had the Impossible burgers before. At Disney World, they had the Impossible Sloppy Joe, and then
Mm-hmm.
last year I think they had the Impossible Meatball Sub during one of the festivals,
Right.
and those were like, except for the sloppy Joe, that was weird. But the burgers and especially meatballs, and I think the Ronto has a version, a meatless version,
Mm-hmm.
impossible version. Um,
Yeah.
they've all been pretty good. Like I can't, if you didn't tell me I wasn't eating meat, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell. So especially that meatball one sub, it was like you couldn't convince me that it wasn't meat. So I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
Like anything that has an Impossible brand, I want to try it just to see, because health wise, need to cut down on the red meat. So
Right.
that
Right. Right.
still helps me have
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. That's very cool. All right. So my second thing is parades. I love the parades. Ever since I first watched my first parade, which was the electrical Main Street Electrical Parade, and I
Yes.
remember I remember standing uh, in the street and the music starting, and they, the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Disneyland, blah 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 blah. You know, and I just remember like bobbing up and down, just so excited for this parade to start. So ever since then, I've just loved going to see the parades, and I cannot wait for Magic Happens, and
Yeah.
to see that, and
To
I just love the parade.
to this day, that beginning of the Electrical Main Street Parade still gets me.
Me too.
You know,
Me too. I still get so excited, and I cheer whenever it happens.
Right.
And
they don't do
so
like I was watching something about that kind of stuff, and I didn't realize there is no nighttime parade anymore.
right. I know.
It was
I
kind of
can't
sad.
wait for. Yeah, I love Paint the Night, and I hope that they'll bring that back soon.
Or something. Because I feel like that's
Yeah.
part of like for me, like my early like we talked about early memories last time, but like some of my early memories also are of parade, like the Electro Main Street Parade at night. Like that was the cap to visiting
Yeah.
Disneyland, Disney World, right? And we don't have that really. There's
Yeah.
the fireworks, but like because I live here, so every night 9:30, I'm like, oh, there's fireworks. So you can
Right.
kind of see them, whatever. But like, there's no let's watch the parade feeling.
Right.
So
I know exactly. So hopefully one day, at least Paint the Night will come back.
yeah.
All right. What's your second?
Merchandise. So I like looking for new stuff, even if I'm not buying stuff.
Yeah. Window shopping.
Yeah, like for me, mostly it's gonna be well, obviously toys. But a lot of home goods. I like seeing shirts, those kind of things. Like even now, like especially now with Cassiana, like I frequent like the baby clothes and like see like what kind of outfits we can get her. Like I'm just waiting for her to
Yeah.
grow out of like the infant stuff and get into like the toddler sizes because there's so many
Right.
cool toddler
More
shirts.
options.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to get this for her, but she's not gonna be able like during the Toy Fair unveiling of the Star Wars stuff. There's like this Ahsoka
Uh,
outfit. I'm like already going like I think I should buy it and just wait.
yes. Yeah.
Right?
Because eventually she'll get to be that age.
So, and then hopefully she will like Star Wars.
I know, right? Can you imagine? One day she's like,
Uh.
God, I hate this Disney and Star Wars stuff.
You're breaking my heart.
I know, exactly.
You're going to a place I can't follow.
I know.
But yeah, I every time like every year, every like every festival, I like seeing what's coming out to see if there's something I really really want, or if not, like also like I know some of my friends like other kind of things, so I'll always like take pictures of like check this out. I know you want it.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Merch.
Merchandise is good. I love people watching.
Yeah.
I like to, before they used to have this stand where you could get grapes, and I would buy a cup of grapes and a bottle of water, and I just sit and just people watch for a little bit. And it's interesting seeing the different kinds of people. And like I talked about before, I especially love to see little kids experiencing something for the first time, like seeing the characters, and stuff like that. Like it just makes me so happy to see that. But then there's sometimes some crazy stuff that happens where, like Disneyland brings out either the best or the worst in you. And sometimes I'll see like some of the worst in people and I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy. But it's like watching a soap opera sometimes. So sometimes that's a little bit fun as well. But mostly I like to see the good stuff.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it last time or one of the other ones. Like I've stopped at the entrances to Galaxy's Edge. Because that's when I see like adults become kids again, and it's interesting to me like to see that happen. Especially because like
Yeah.
adulthood is somehow associated with like losing that sense of wonder,
Boringness. Yeah.
and I just like seeing people like look like, especially the ones that you look at and you're like, yeah, that guy is too serious, and then all of a sudden, Millennium Falcon, and they become like kids again. So
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the great part about Disneyland is when you do see people just become kids again,
yeah,
and it's something magical about
hmm
it.
so
Yeah. How about you?
similar. Like for me though, I mean, like walking around, just looking at everything, and then like also hanging out with the people that go there frequently with me, like my family, some of my friends that have
Hmm.
passes. Sometimes we don't have an agenda. We're just like, let's go to Disneyland, and then we just like walk around, talk, whatever,
Yeah.
window shop. Sometimes like I would say lately, most of the time we don't even ride anything. Uh, you
Hmm.
know, um, we just it's just like it's a cool place to just hang out, and for especially for us that have passes, it's quote unquote cheap. I mean, yes, we pay monthly,
Yeah.
but we go enough that it's technically pretty cheap, So,
Yeah.
it's relaxing to me. You know,
Yeah. I
Even with
agree.
the
It's
crowds
very
nowadays, it's still better than to me than walking around a lake or
or like yeah, or the
the
mall
mall.
or you know.
It gives me something to do, and I can stop and like look at something, or even if I want to ride a ride, sometimes I'll do that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
And we're about to talk about rides right now. My next two are rides. My number one is Star Tours. I love Star Tours. I actually like it better than Smuggler's Run, just in terms of the experience. Uh, Smuggler's Run is neater for being able to be in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon and the whole queue area and things like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of just the ride, I just love Star Tours. There's just something special about it, and I think that ever since they upgraded, it's gotten even better than even though I would love for them to eventually add an Endor sequence back into it.
Right.
I just love Star Tours. It's fun.
Nice. You would
Yeah,
think that to be my favorite ride, but it's not.
I know. I know.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So my last two are also rides, and I thought long and hard about what other things I'd like to do at Disneyland, but it really is food,
Hmm.
looking at merchandise, hanging out. But then after that, it's pretty much rides. And the my number one ride that I like is the Haunted Mansion,
Yes,
um,
that's a great ride.
for a couple of reasons. It's the creepy whatever vibe, whatever. But it's also a ride that I know, even if it's a long line, it goes quick,
Yeah, it does.
right? So I don't know. There's something like the creepiness of it, the song. I like
Yeah,
how it goes from like this like haunted house like scary vibe, then all of a sudden it's like I don't want to say joyous, but like there's once you hit the if you believe some of the stories about what the story is, when you fall and get into
yeah,
the
out of the
out of the
window.
window into the graveyard, this ghosts are all out singing whatever. Like there's such a change in the vibe
Yeah,
that's almost like
it is
it's almost
funny.
like two rides at once. So
Right, one is scary and the other one
yeah,
is not as scary.
yeah. Um, so that is my favorite actual ride at Disneyland.
Good one. Definitely one of my top ones.
Yeah,
But the other one that I actually love to go on, that aside from Star Tours, that I generally go on because I don't go on rides a lot
right.
these days.
Yeah,
A lot of it is devoted to characters or people watching or whatever. But my other one that I like to go on is Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. I just love that ride, and I lamented when uh, they closed down Tower of
Yeah.
Terror, but I really do feel that this is a fun ride. Like, especially when the music starts and you just feel like you're into it, and then you go up and down and up and down, and it's so much fun to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. It was hard when, because Tower of Terror was also one of my favorite rides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think I like the ambiance of it a lot more. But and I've come to terms that it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, while it's funny that it's the same ride, but
Yeah.
the atmosphere and the story of it's such more upbeat that it's a little more exciting. Like Guardians of the Galaxy is a
Yeah.
more exciting ride, where Tower of Terror
Right.
really built up your anxiety and then gave you the ride.
Spooky.
Um,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until when I went back to Walt Disney World in the fall that I rode Tower of Terror in Hollywood Studios that I realized that their version I liked a lot better than the version in California Adventure. Just a
Mm-hmm.
little extra bit in the
That
beginning.
goes forward.
So
Yeah.
now I'm like, all right, that is a Tower of Terror. That is the ride
Mm-hmm.
I seek to go to when I'm in Florida.
Right.
Whereas I think if since we had it here, is one of those like, yeah, we can hit that up, but it's like the same, it's quote unquote, it's the same ride. So it's like
Yeah.
going to be less on my list of things they need to do there. But now it's
Right.
definitely a must every time I go to Hollywood Studios. And so I'm good with knowing that um, they have the definitive Tower of Terror ride, and we have the Guardians of the Galaxy version of it. It
Yeah.
makes it two different rides to me. So
Definitely.
right,
Definitely.
but again, surprisingly, my second favorite ride at Disneyland is not Star Tours or Millennium
Yeah.
Falcon. And
Or Rise of the
Rise of
Resistance.
Resistance too new. I can't say like because the whole thing is favorite things to do at Disneyland. It can't be my favorite thing to do because I've only done it twice.
Right.
And who knows? Like, and it also kind of excluded the Cars Land ride because it's such a long wait for that ride that it's one of those things
Yeah.
I don't go on a lot because unless I'm get there enough to get a fast pass early,
Right.
I'm never
Right.
gonna really go on it. So it's not one of the things I like to do because it's one of those things that's rare that I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that kind of went with Space Mountain. Space Mountain, again, is probably one of my favorite rides, but it also tends to be the one that most people like to go on, and fast passes for that ride go quickly. So unless
Right.
I'm there and I feel like waiting 40 minutes, I'm not gonna go on it.
Yeah.
So my last favorite thing to do is something I do a lot more often than anything else is ride Big Thunder Mountain.
Wow.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I can get a fast pass for that easily, and
Yeah. Those tend to not sell out as quickly.
yeah, because I could show up in the afternoon and still get one fairly close to that time. So yeah,
Nice. I like
yeah,
it.
that is why
I love Big Thunder Mountain.
yeah, that's why Big Thunder is on there and not um, Space Mountain or the Cars Land ride or even
Mm-hmm.
like Midway Mania. Like there are some rides that I like better. It's just I don't get to do them all the time, and I took this list as what I kind of do most often. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah. No,
yeah
definitely. Definitely what it was designed to do. All right. Well, these are good lists.
yeah
So anyway, well, that we've come to the end of our show this time. Be sure to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Get those 5 stars out there. It really helps us to be found. And share our posts with your friends and family on your social networks. And you can reach us at podcasts at castlecapesandclothes.com. Leave us your feedback, good or bad. We'd love to hear from you. We try to incorporate your feedback when we can. And thanks so much for listening.
yep. Catch you on the flip side.